everybody. Welcome into Mining Stock Daily. Once again, I have a corporate update here from Kingfisher Metals. Kingfisher trades on the Venture Exchange with KFR and also on the OTCQB with KGFMF. And from the company, once again, CEO Mr. Dustin Perry. Dustin, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, Trevor. Good morning.
Good morning to you. I guess it is. Yeah, it is still morning. It's been a long morning, actually. It's very busy. But let's get the latest update from Kingfisher. Listen, you went out, you closed a financing, $3 million here, and that's going to help fund your exploration work at the Highway 37 project in the Golden Triangle. That's the latest project you put into the asset portfolio for Kingfisher. Before we kind of get into developments on the ground there at Highway 37, I wanted to get your kind of what the makeup of this financing, how are you able to raise it, and really the timing of it all, because it's not an easy time to go out there and raise money for exploration.
No, so the financing, it didn't have that many subscribers to it. We actually came up just short of the $3 million goal, $2.8 million. But I do expect when we need it, there's some more money available to us via warrants that one shareholders offered to exercise. So the makeup of the financing is primarily institutional, and we've added a new institutional investor to the mix. We've added Lowell Resource Fund that's listed on the ASX. They came in and wrote a good sized check. Commodity Capital again, Plethora has gone over 10% now, and are reporting as an insider. And then Alejandro Gobbins, our largest shareholders, maintained his 20% interest. I came in for a small amount, but believed in it, so I came in for more. And then the other subscribers were mainly people who were pre-existing shareholders for the most part. Most of it came through the charity side, so that there wasn't actually that much. I think about 2 million shares were of actual flow-through. No flow-through funds came in. So what I'm getting at is the shares went to very strong hands. And that's partly why it took a little longer than I had hoped. The market is not good. It's a very difficult market to raise capital in. And I really did not want to, it was fairly dilutive at this share price. So I wanted to make sure that it was going into very good hands if we are going to dilute the company as is. Everybody is very enthusiastic about the drill program. So it was good to up these shareholders' positions. So that's what we've done. And the money is being spent immediately. So everything's on site. We expect a drill to be turning in the next day or two. Our first drill target is really exciting, and we can go into that in a bit more detail here.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about it. You said immediately. In fact, before we started recording, you said drill pads are already in place, and the rig itself is en route probably today.
Yeah, so the rig's been on site for a few days. It's fairly slow in Northwest BC these days, so it's not like we're pulling the rig off another project. That's been sitting there. Crews arrived yesterday. I think some of them got in a little later in the day, and we've got a weather day today. So we'll put out an announcement once the drill is actually up and running, but it should be this week. I'm going up there. So today is Tuesday. I'm going to drive up there tomorrow morning, do a 12-hour drive up to Smithers, and then about a 5-hour drive from there up to our site. Gail, I'm going to meet Gail there, or basically our whole geological crew will be there. And we want to see the first drill, the first drill core come out of the ground. So we're testing 3 targets. They're in the Mary porphyry area. So Mary is one of 3 porphyries that had significant historical drilling with really good intercepts from surface. We're testing 3 targets in that general area. Cliff is the furthest away to the southwest of there. That had a historical drill hole that graded 0.11 copper over 80 meters. So it bottomed in 80 meters. It was a shallow hole. I think it was about 193 meters or so drill hole. It hit an intrusion that does not appear to be the what we're really after. It appears to be maybe a later porphyry phase that came up adjacent to what we're after. Gail and I actually went into the gully where you can see the outcropping mineralization that they hit. And we weren't that excited when we saw it. We said, "How does this grade 0.11 copper over 80 meters? Because it's improving up to 0.2 copper down the hole." we were pretty impressed that it graded that, but also thought, I hope we see something better than this. So we went the next creek over, and it's an area that had been mapped as potassic alteration and stockwork, but it wasn't. I would have been a lot more excited in my verbiage if I was writing about this in a report, because it was beautiful stockwork over. We figured minimum 50 meters horizontal extent, true thickness. It dipped under snow when we were there around Canada Day, July 1st. But beautiful stockwork. It looks, I've got rocks from Red Chris in my garden here from their high-grade starter pit, and it's the same density of quartz veining, 25-30% quartz veining. We took samples up to 4% chalcopyrite at surface there, and that has not been drilled. So they hit a phase outside of it, and that bottomed in the 80 meters of 0.11 copper. They didn't actually get into the intrusion that appears to be, the heart of a porphyry system.
Sure.
So we're collaring from the opposite direction, and we're going to cross all of this, and maybe we'll end the hole in that later phase, or maybe we'll be drilling steep enough that we'll just stay in what looks really juicy. So that's a really exciting target. This zone we're gonna test over about 500 meters width with 3 holes, and then we're gonna move a bit to the east and test the Mary Root Zone target, which is more of a geophysical target, but it has a very similar geophysical characteristics as what you get at the known Mary Zone that has a fingerprint. It's got large gaussons around it, a magnetic anomaly, resistivity anomaly, good geochem coming right up to cover rock that caps it, and we're going to be drilling right below the cover into that. And then we're also going to drill another hole at the Mary Zone where we've got some new ideas for where we believe the system or deposit there is open. The last drill hole was done in 2019, 290 meters of 0.7 gold equivalent from surface, so nothing to turn your nose up at. We believe there's more room to add mineralization there, and we also think there's a lot more room to add copper mineralization there, which is really the focus of this project for us.
Yeah, I think, Dustin, I was kind of thinking about it, like, how do I simplify this first pass under Kingfisher's tutelage? It's like, making an appropriate discovery here, making a new appropriate discovery that really could be a game changer, not only for the project, but it potentially might be a game changer for Kingfisher as well. And I'm just, let's talk about is the hopes, because you raised the $2.8 million. I know, and people of this podcast, listeners of this podcast know that, $2.8 million, it doesn't go very far in the Golden Triangle because it's remote work, it's expensive, and a lot of times it's awfully very deep. So, is the goal of this is to take this cash, make that appropriate discovery here at Highway 37 with the hopes that the market will take notice and you're able to, potentially do another raise down the road, after this program, to do something more, grand and really meaningful to build this out.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the approach. The other part of it is that I think it'll be pretty straightforward attracting interest from major mining companies on this project. They've been involved before. There was companies looking at it the year before we acquired it. There's companies we've been talking. We haven't moved anywhere in any direction on that, but there are companies that are poking around in the area. I think what we have is a bona fide porphyry epithermal district. We've outlined that in our literature we've put out. What we're trying to do here is show that it has barely been scratched, and that the drilling that has been done, which is a fair bit of historical drilling, has defined areas of mineralization, but has been fairly limited to those refined, concentrated areas. And we're extending beyond those with the hopes of showing that there's room to find more porphyries here. With the size of the program we've got planned for this year, 2,500 meters, we're not going to be able to define a new porphyry system. The goal is to get into a few of them, or one of them even, and just show that there's a lot of room to make discoveries here. Hopefully we make a large discovery here, and maybe we can upsize the program and start and drill a few more holes into either of these targets. But I think a positive outcome for this year would be to show that there is economic mineralization outside of these known areas, and that there's a lot of room to make new discoveries, and hopefully we can get a re-rate out of this program raise in a less dilutive manner for next year, potentially with a new strategic investor, and then really go after it next year, utilizing the full field program or the full field season. You know, we got a late start this year. We could have easily been drilling in June based on what we saw around July 1st, but we didn't have the capital. Tough markets. Now we have the capital. We're going to go at it and hope for the best.
All right. So drilling begins imminently as soon as you can get that rig in place and get it turning. How about, you know, how long do you expect each hole to take? You know, I know there's variables there, anything could happen, but just kind of expecting, when do you think shareholders might expect rough timeline of first assays out of Highway 37?
I would expect sometime in September for the first assays, I would hope. It appears that turnarounds are a little faster right now than what they've been, or quite a bit faster. I don't know what will happen as we progress towards September when more companies get assays in. But if you just look around, there's not that much work happening in the Golden Triangle outside of the main fixtures like Seabridge and Tudor Gold. There isn't that much work happening. In terms of the length of these holes, we're not drilling particularly deep holes. You know, these targets are coming to surface for the most part. Cliff, for example, we're going to be our first drill pad that's already been built there. They're on the second. They're just about done the second pad there. They're collared in mineralization, albeit flanking mineralization, and but strong alteration, strong geochemical anomalies. They're right in it, and we expect to hit mineralization close to surface there or from surface. So these aren't super long holes. I think the ones at Cliff are planned for about 400 meters. You know, if we hit something special on the first hole, we'll follow it up with this as much steeper hole and try to go down to see if we can get that magical change where you go from chalcopyrite to bornite in a porphyry system and the grade jumps up. So yeah, they're not particularly long holes. Like, I think we're going to have maybe 6 drill holes on this program.
Okay. Very good. Well, we will touch base here soon as we get more progress and updates out of the Highway 37 project, and probably here next month, Dustin. So let's table it there and have yourself a good trip up north. Drive safe and be safe up on site, you and everybody else.
Thanks, Trevor.